It's about to rain a lot across the west coast as a series of powerful storm systems could bring over a foot of rain over the next several days. In this video, we'll talk about this atmospheric river and more. But first, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more weather updates. So here's the first atmospheric river. This is a huge bomb cyclone coming towards the west coast, and this is a very powerful system. It definitely on satellite imagery looks very hurricane-like, and this is showing 941 millibars. This is an extremely intense low pressure system. Like I don't think I've seen, a low pressure system off the coast of the Pacific Northwest down to 941 millibars. That's wild. And you have this is the atmospheric river part of it coming in, and pretty much tonight it's going to be raining and snowing across the west coast, all the way from southwestern Canada all the way down across western Washington, Oregon, even northern California. And then it really moves in with that heavy rain across especially northern California on Wednesday, and pretty much just keeps raining and raining and raining, especially across northern California, even southern Oregon, but especially northern California has all this rain. And that's the first low pressure system. It kind of occludes and moves further north, but you still have this continuous amount of moisture just being funneled in. That's the atmospheric river. And then you have a new kind of low pressure system going into later on Thursday night, and then that adds even more energy. And notice another thing with this, at first it starts off with heavy snow. This first system is going to bring a lot of really heavy snow across the mountains in northern California, but then the snow levels kind of rise over time until you're having really heavy rain at high elevations going into Friday. And then that system kind of moves away, and then you start getting the snow coming back. But then that's what's going to dump an extreme amount of rain across northern California, where there's actually a high risk of flooding. And then you have another storm kind of on Sunday that brings more rain and snow to especially California with this one. Not so much Washington or Oregon. And then maybe another system around next Tuesday, November 26th, and then things look like they quiet down after that. But there's actually, for day one, there's a slight risk of excessive rainfall for Eureka, and also places kind of along the coast of far northwestern California and far southwestern Oregon. But then we have a day two, a moderate risk of flash flooding across kind of northern California, especially the Mendocino area. And then day three gets worse, and this would be for Thursday. Basically a high risk, at least 70% chance of flash flooding across the same area, especially south, just in Eureka and just south of Eureka, this whole area under a high risk of flash flooding. And then it tones down for day four, just a slight risk. And then after that, it seems to tone down, but this is definitely a lot of rain. And if you look at this, actually just taking it through the next 5 days, the next 7 days, you have up and down the west coast tons of rain, but especially focused in on northern California, getting over a foot of rain in a lot of places. You have the entire west coast could see anywhere from like 3 to 6 inches for a lot of areas along the coast, but this is where most of the rain is going to be focused. You have Shasta County, places north of Redding, you could see over a foot of rain, and some of these areas are going to have that kind of mixed with snow, because a lot of this is going to fall as snow at first, then it kind of turns more into rain, and then possibly back into snow at some point. But then over here, over in, this will be south of the Eureka area, but you could see 12 to even 15, over 15 inches of rain in some places, probably isolated amounts over 18 inches. That's a lot of rain, and that's why there's a high risk of flash flooding for that area. And then, yeah, the snow, the low elevation's not really going to see anything because you're funneling in all this basically tropical moisture with an atmospheric river, and so the mountains will see snow, but even that could be limited at some times. But there's going to be several feet of snow at the highest elevations, especially near Mount Shasta. Those areas could see the heaviest snow, but other places could see, even the Cascades could see 1 to 2 feet in general of snow, and the Sierra Nevada mountains could see a couple of feet of snow, but this is where the heaviest snow is. Near the Mount Shasta area, you could have 3 to 6 feet, maybe even 6 to 10 feet of snow in some areas. And then near Mount Lassen, I think, they could have 3 to 4 feet of snow. And it's not just in the western U.S. The west coast is just going to get slammed with all these atmospheric rivers and all this stuff. But then there's actually a couple more things happening. You have across the Midwest and the Northeast, you have some storm systems bringing some rain and snow and some colder temperatures. And then after that, you have seems like things kind of quiet down. You get more of a zonal kind of pattern, and you can have some storms kind of going west to east. Some of the energy from these storms moving to the west is going to go further east, but it doesn't really do much of anything. You have maybe snow in the Wyoming, Colorado area and the Rocky Mountains, but then not really much happens with this, except you do have some rain across the East Coast and the Southeast around Thanksgiving, actually. And then, but notice this, you have a lot of snow. This is going to be lake effect snow, and then you're going to have snow behind the Rockies. And the thing is, you could see this is an Arctic blast. This is like Arctic air plunging down, and so that's the other thing. That's another pretty wild thing that can happen. And if the Euro is correct, it wants a snowstorm in the south by early December. That's really far out now. The Euro, they've actually extended it out to 15 days now, so it doesn't just cut off at 10 days. Now it goes out to 360 hours. That's basically 15 days. So this is the long range Euro kind of painting a picture of a pretty decent winter storm down in Texas, and then kind of going across the south. That'll be interesting to see if that actually happens, and it would be possible if you have moisture interacting with this Arctic blast that's supposed to happen, but we'll see. But over the next 7 days, you have, of course, most of that rain is going to be over the west coast, with over 10 to 15 inches of rain, especially across northern California with these atmospheric rivers. The northeast will also see some precipitation, possibly 2 to 4 inches of rain in some areas. But then, notice this, a lot of the central U.S. is dry, like really not much of anything in this area, and that's pretty bad because a lot of the U.S. is in a drought. You know, it's like you have rain in some places and a lot of rain in some places, but other places don't see anything. It's like, that is a problem. But then Also, the snowfall, most of the snowfall in the mountains in the west, especially the Cascades and the Sierra Nevada mountains. The Rocky Mountains don't even see that much, maybe at most a foot of snow in some places over the next 7 days, and then just over the next 7 days, the Euro model is showing even about 6 inches is possible in western Michigan from what would probably be lake effect snow, and then the Northeast could see some decent snowfall, even up to a foot of snow in some places like Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Other than that, not too much snow happening, but if the Euro is right with showing this winter storm, there could be several inches of snow, even over 6 to 8 inches of snow in northern Texas, possibly, and then that tracks towards the East Coast. But yeah, that could be a significant winter storm if you could get several inches of snow in northern Texas at the beginning of December. That would be pretty interesting. We'll see if that happens. And this is another thing that you have the Euro model is showing. We have the storm activity in the western U.S. You can see it offshore, kind of offshore the west coast. The below average heights, meaning troughing low pressure systems over there. Then we have in the central U.S. a big ridge. That's why it's not raining, not snowing for a lot of places over there. But then along the East Coast, you have this low pressure system here that's just kind of spinning there, and that's why that's kind of spinning around some rain and snow for the Great Lakes area and the Northeast over the next few days, going towards Friday and into the weekend. But then you have all those storms across the West Coast, and then those kind of disappear. But then notice what happens. You have more troughing in the northern part of the U.S. and southern Canada, and this is going to start bringing down that Arctic blast, those really cold temperatures, and then things try to flatten out after that. But definitely where we could see that Arctic blast, and then they're even showing this would be that winter storm in the south. We'll see if that happens, but they're thinking an Arctic blast is possible. And in terms of the actual temperatures, yeah, this is right now we have below average temperatures across the western U.S., but then with all those atmospheric rivers bringing in that tropical moisture, temperatures will go back up. And then with some of this, we actually do drop the temperatures back down towards the end of November. But then not just across the west, you see this, of course, is the Arctic blast coming down, and this is by Friday, November 29th. And this is really far out, so this could definitely change, but it's just looking ahead, there is a more active weather pattern happening. It looks like these atmospheric rivers moving into the western U.S. is just the beginning of a more active weather pattern with some wild things happening, because as we go towards December 1st, you could see these well below average temperatures really start plunging down, and then things try to warm back up in the northern part of the U.S. because that cold air plunges down. But an Arctic blast for the beginning of December is what the Euro is thinking. In terms of the actual temperatures, yeah, those temperatures try to warm up across the west and everything, and even in Texas, still temperatures in the like mid 80s for Sunday, November 24th. So still warm conditions, but then notice what happens with this. If this big Arctic blast takes shape, you could have temperatures going down into the teens in northern Texas, and definitely in the 20s in a lot of places, and some very cold temperatures even going below zero further north in the Dakotas, Minnesota, places like that, and even freezing conditions coming down close to Houston, Texas by December 4th. Now that's as far out as the Euro model goes, and this is probably going to change, but it just shows that the Euro is definitely thinking that a more active weather pattern is coming, and the atmospheric rivers are kind of just the beginning of it, and we could have even more active weather as we head into late November and heading into December. Thanks for watching this video. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up, share the video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel for more weather updates. Extreme Weather Zone